Not all nightmares come from sleep. Some of them are memories. In this video, you'll hear a collection of real horror tales. Experiences too strange to explain, too disturbing to forget. Told by those who survived, or at least claim. To each story carries a question. Was it real or just the mind playing tricks? But as you listen, you'll realize the mind can't fake everything. The scratches on the wall, the voice that called your name when you were home alone, the figure at the end of the hallway that didn't move when you blinked. We've gathered these chilling stories not just to scare you, but to make you question what's possible. So lean in, keep the lights off, and ask yourself, as each tale unfolds, could this happen to me? The soft hum of a lullaby fills the air as Sarah tucks her 6-year-old daughter, Emily, into bed. The glow of a star-shaped nightlight casting gentle patterns on the walls of their Ohio home. It's a quiet April evening in 2025, and the house feels warm, a sanctuary after a long day. Sarah brushes a strand of hair from Emily's forehead, whispering, "Good night, sweetheart." But as she steps back, the nightlight flickers and a faint rhythmic tapping begins. Soft at first, like rain, but growing sharper, more deliberate, as if something is clawing at the walls from the inside. Sarah freezes, her hand on the door frame, as the tapping morphs into a whisper, low and mournful. "Find me." The air thickens, the temperature dropping, and in the corner of her eye, Sarah catches a glimpse of a shadow. Tall, feminine, faceless, hovering just beyond the nightlight's glow. She blinks, and it's gone. But the whisper lingers, wrapping around her like a cold hand. Sarah tries to shake it off, chalking it up to exhaustion. She and her husband, Daniel, moved into this fixer-upper a year ago, drawn by its charm despite the creaky floors and faint smell of mildew. But lately, the house has felt off. It all started when my daughter, Emily, who's 6 years old, began having nightmares that weren't just nightmares. These weren't your typical kid nightmares where she'd wake up crying about monsters under the bed. Instead, she'd wake up in the middle of the night, sitting upright, staring at the corner of her room, whispering the name, June. Emily's behavior has grown increasingly unsettling. Her once sparkling eyes now fixate on empty spaces. Her voice barely a whisper as she speaks of someone Sarah doesn't know. I'd ask her who June was, and she'd just say, "She's sad, Mommy. She wants me to help her." The name June sends a shiver down Sarah's spine. It's not a name Emily should know, not a friend, not a character from her stories. Sarah's mind races back to the first strange incident, finding Emily's favorite doll on the kitchen counter one morning, its head twisted backward, far from her bedroom. Now, as she closes Emily's door, the tapping resumes, louder, more insistent, coming from the hallway. Sarah's breath catches as she hears a child's giggle, not Emily's, followed by the faint scratch of nails on wood, dragging slowly down the wall. She turns, but the hallway is empty, the shadows stretching longer than they should, as if the house itself is breathing. The next morning, Emily is unusually quiet, her breakfast untouched, her crayons abandoned on the table. It was like she was in a trance sometimes, just staring into space. Sarah watches her daughter, her heart sinking as Emily's gaze drifts to the staircase, where the light seems to dim, swallowed by a darkness that feels alive, pulsing with intent. I started noticing other things too, small objects moving around. The house. My keys would be on the kitchen counter one minute, then I'd find them in the living room. Sarah checks every room, suspecting a prank or a gas leak, but the house is secure. The windows locked tight. One night I woke up to the sound of whispering coming from Emily's room. She races upstairs, her pulse pounding, and finds Emily. Sitting up in bed, her lips moving in a rhythm that isn't her own. I couldn't make out the words, but it wasn't her voice. It was deeper, older. "Emily, who are you talking to?" Sarah asks, her voice trembling. Emily turns, her eyes glassy, and whispers, "June says she's sorry, but she can't leave." The room grows frigid, the walls creaking as if under pressure, and Sarah feels a presence, like 1,000 eyes boring into her back, from the empty corner. She pulls Emily into her arms, her daughter's skin ice cold, and the whispering stops. But the air remains heavy, oppressive, as if the house is holding its breath. Sarah's unease deepens with each passing day. She spends hours scouring the house for answers, checking for drafts, loose pipes, anything to explain the phenomena, but finds nothing. Daniel, a pragmatic engineer, dismisses her fears as stress. "Kids have vivid imaginations," he insists, but his voice lacks conviction. Sarah can't let it go. She's seen the way Emily's eyes follow something invisible, heard the whispers that seem to seep from the walls. She starts researching the house's history, digging through online archives late into the night. I found out that the house had a history. A woman named June Ellison lived here in the 1970s. She was a widow, lived alone, and died in the house under mysterious circumstances. The records are vague, mentioning a fire, a locked room, and whispers of mental instability. But a local blog post sends a chill through Sarah. June's ghost haunts that house, searching for her lost daughter. The post lists signs, moving, objects, cold spots, whispers, matching their experiences exactly. Sarah's hands tremble as she reads further, uncovering forum threads where neighbors from the 70s describe June as a recluse, her once vibrant spirit broken after a tragedy. Sarah shows Daniel the findings, her voice shaking, and though he's reluctant, he agrees to set up a security camera in Emily's room to monitor her at night. That night, Sarah barely sleeps, her eyes glued to the camera feed on her phone. At 3:14 a.m., the feed crackles, static distorting the image, and a voice, not Emily's, cuts through. "Clara, where are you?" Sarah's heart stops. She nudges Daniel awake, and they watch, horrified, as the screen shows Emily asleep. But a shadow tall and flowing leans over her, its edges fraying like smoke in a non-existent breeze. The shadow's head turns as if sensing them, and the camera cuts out, plunging the feed into darkness. Emily's scream pierces the house, and Sarah bolts upstairs, Daniel close behind. They find Emily curled up in bed, unharmed but trembling, clutching a scrap of fabric, old, yellowed, embroidered with the initials J.E. The fabric smells of ash, its edges singed, as if it survived a fire. Sarah's mind races. J.E. could only mean June Ellison. She wraps Emily in a blanket, her daughter's small body shaking, and notices the nightlight flickering erratically, casting jagged shadows that seem to reach for them. Downstairs, the living room mirror reflects something impossible. A faint outline of a woman, her dress flowing, standing behind Sarah's reflection. She spins around, but there's nothing there, only the echo of that whisper. "Find me." The disturbances escalate, each day bringing new horrors. Doors would slam shut on their own, and I'd hear footsteps in the hallway when no one was there. Sarah finds Emily's toys arranged in a spiral on the living room floor, each one facing the basement door, as if guarding it. One time I found Emily's favorite stuffed bear in the attic, torn apart, with a piece of old fabric clutched in its paws. The fabric matches the scrap Emily held, its texture rough, smelling of decay and smoke. Sarah's fear turns to obsession. She can't ignore the signs anymore. She contacts a local historian, Evelyn Harper, who agrees to meet at a nearby cafe. Evelyn, a gray-haired woman with sharp eyes, shares June's tragic story. June's daughter, Clara, disappeared in 1972, and June never recovered. She became obsessed, claiming Clara was trapped in the house. After Clara's disappearance, June started performing strange rituals, leaving offerings of food and toys. Evelyn pulls out a faded photograph of June, tall, gaunt, her eyes hollow. A perfect match for the shadow Sarah glimpsed. The night June died, neighbors reported hearing screams and seeing a glow from the house. Evelyn's voice lowers to a whisper. June believed she could bind Clara's spirit to the house through a ritual. If she's still here, she might think Emily is Clara. Sarah's stomach churns as Evelyn hands her a newspaper clipping from 1972 detailing Clara's disappearance. Last seen playing in the backyard, a locket with her initials left behind. Sarah's mind flashes to Emily's room, to the shadows that seem to watch her daughter. Sarah's nights become sleepless vigils, her days consumed by research. She scours the house for clues, tearing through closets, checking under floorboards, her hands trembling with every creak and whisper. Daniel, once skeptical, grows pale as the phenomena intensify. He installs motion sensors, but they trigger at odd hours, capturing nothing but static and faint hums that sound like distant voices. One afternoon, Sarah finds Emily in the backyard, digging in the dirt with her bare hands. June says Clara's hiding here. Emily murmurs, her voice eerily calm. Sarah pulls her away, but not before spotting a glint in the soil, a small rusted locket engraved with Clara. Inside is a lock of hair, brittle and gray, and a tiny photograph of a girl who looks hauntingly like Emily. Sarah's resolve hardens. She can't let this continue. Whatever June wants, it's targeting her daughter. She calls Father Thomas, a priest known for handling hauntings, begging him to help. I was desperate, so I called a priest to bless the house. He said he felt a presence, something heavy and sorrowful. Father Thomas arrives, his face grim, carrying a leather bag with holy water and a rosary. During the blessing, the house rebels. Lights surge, windows rattle, and Emily shrieks, pointing to the attic. Emily started screaming during the blessing, saying June was angry. The priest's rosary slips from his hand, landing in a puddle of black liquid that seeps from the floor, smelling of rot. This isn't just a spirit, Father Thomas warns, his voice steady but eyes wide. It's bound to something here, something physical. Sarah and Daniel spend the next day searching the attic, their flashlights cutting through cobwebs and dust. They find a hidden compartment in the wall sealed with rusted nails. Its wood carved with symbols, spirals, eyes, and jagged lines that seem to pulse under the light. Inside is a diary, its pages brittle and stained with soot, the handwriting frantic and uneven. I found a journal in the attic, written by June. It was full of ramblings about Clara, about how she could hear her daughter crying in the walls. June wrote that she'd made a deal to keep Clara's spirit safe, but it required a sacrifice. The entries grow more unhinged, detailing rituals with offerings of blood and bone, and a heartstone buried in the basement to anchor Clara's spirit. The final entry sends a chill through Sarah. Another will come, she'll be mine. Sarah's hands shake as she reads, the hum returning, louder, now a chorus of voices chanting, Clara, Clara, Clara. Daniel, his face pale, grabs a crowbar and a shovel. They descend to the basement, the air thick with the stench of decay, the floor soft and unnaturally warm. They dig, their shovels striking something solid, a black stone, smooth as glass, its surface etched with the same symbols from the diary. It pulses, warm like a beating heart, and as they touch it, the house shakes, lights exploding in showers of sparks. and Emily's voice screams from above. "Mommy, she's here!" Sarah sprints upstairs, her heart pounding, and finds Emily, sitting on her bed, staring at a corner of the room. The room is a freezer, the walls dripping with black ooze that smells of death. The room was so cold, and there was this smell, like something rotting. June materializes in the corner, her form a nightmare. Half woman, half shadow, her dress tattered, her face a rotting mask of decayed flesh and hollow eyes. I saw her, June, standing there staring at Emily. Sarah screams, shielding Emily. As June lunges, her skeletal hands grazing Sarah's arm, burning like ice through her skin. Daniel bursts in, crowbar in hand, and swings at June. But she dissolves into smoke, her laugh echoing through the house, a sound like breaking glass and dying screams. The house convulses, doors slamming, windows cracking, the walls groaning, as if alive. Sarah carries Emily to the basement, where the stone's glow intensifies, its symbols writhing like living things. The diary's warning burns in her mind. Shatter the heart or lose another. Sarah grabs a sledgehammer, Daniel beside her, and they strike the stone with desperate force. Each blow shakes the house, the voices screaming in protest, the air filling with the stench of ash and blood. The stone cracks, then shatters, and a wail, primal, otherworldly, erupts, shaking the foundation. June appears one last time, her form fracturing, her eyes burning with rage and sorrow. I'll never forget that scream. It was like nothing human. She reaches for Emily, her fingers inches from her daughter's face, but the stone's destruction unravels her, and she collapses, her body dissolving into a pile of ash that scatters like dust in the wind. The house falls silent, the air warming, the oppressive weight lifting like a storm passing. After we destroyed the stone, the house felt different, lighter. Sarah and Daniel cling to Emily, tears streaming down their faces, as the first light of dawn pierces the basement windows. Emily hasn't had a nightmare since, but she still draws pictures of June. They move out the following week, unable to stay in a house tainted by such darkness. Their new home, a small apartment across town, feels like a fresh start, but Sarah keeps the diary, its pages a grim reminder of what they endured. She's traced June's history further, finding newspaper clippings about Clara's unsolved disappearance in 1972. A sunny afternoon turned tragedy, a locket left in the grass as the only clue. June's descent into occult rituals followed, her grief twisting into madness as she sought to save Clara's spirit. Sarah buries the locket in a consecrated graveyard, blessed by Father Thomas, hoping to give Clara peace. But the shadows linger in Sarah's mind. In their new home, she hears the hum again, faint but unmistakable, coming from Emily's closet late at night. Under Emily's pillow, Sarah finds a new drawing, a faceless woman holding hands with another figure, labeled June's sister. The hum grows louder, a whisper forming. She's not done. Sarah's heart sinks. She's contacted a medium determined to end this once and for all. But the question haunts her. Did they break the ritual or merely awaken something worse? Stay tuned. This house's secrets aren't buried yet, and June's shadow may have company. Moonlight filters through the dense canopy of blackthorn forest, a sprawling wilderness on the edge of a small Maine town. It's late fall, the air crisp with the scent of pine and damp earth. I'm Ethan, 22, hiking with 3 friends, Lila, Marcus, and Tara, on a dare we couldn't resist. We're a group of thrill seekers, out to explore a forest rumored to be haunted. The locals call it the Whispering Woods, a place where people vanish and strange sounds echo in the dark. We're not believers in ghost stories, just college kids, chasing a rush, armed with flashlights, a map, and too much confidence. The trail starts easy, a dirt path winding through towering oaks and tangled ferns. We're laughing, swapping dumb jokes, our voices bouncing off the trees. The forest feels alive, but not threatening. Not yet. Lila's got her camera, snapping photos for her blog, while Marcus brags about his camping skills. Tara's quieter, her eyes scanning the shadows, but she's game. We're aiming for a clearing deep in the woods, a spot marked on an old map we found in the town library. It's supposedly a Native American ritual site, abandoned for centuries, perfect for a spooky night out. An hour in, the path narrows, the trees closing in like silent sentinels. Our flashlights carve weak beams through the dark, and the air grows heavier, like it's holding its breath. We're deep in the forest, now far from civilization when we hear it. A faint whisper, like a child's voice coming from all directions. My skin prickles. "You guys hear that?" I ask, my voice low. Lila freezes, her camera dangling. Marcus laughs, but it's forced. "Probably the wind," he says, though there's no breeze. Tara's eyes are wide, her flashlight shaking. "That's not wind," she whispers. The whispers grow clearer, a chorus of childish voices giggling, murmuring words we can't make out. They're everywhere, behind us, above us, in the trees. It's disorienting, terrifying, like the forest itself is speaking. My heart's pounding, but I try to stay calm. "Let's keep moving," I say, gripping my flashlight tighter. We push toward the clearing, the whispers following, weaving through the branches like a living thing. The map says we're close, but the path feels wrong, like it's shifting under our feet. Then we see it, a flicker of movement in the underbrush, small and quick, like a child darting out of sight. Lila gasps. "What was that?" My stomach twists. There's no one else out here. Or is there? The whispers swell, and I swear they're calling my name. The whispers chase us through Blackthorn Forest, a relentless hum of childish voices that seem to know us, to want us. My flashlight beam dances across gnarled roots and twisted branches, but it can't pierce the darkness swallowing the trail. We're stumbling forward, hearts racing, trying to make sense of the voices surrounding. Lila's clutching her camera like a shield, her breath ragged. Marcus is muttering curses, his bravado crumbling. Tara's silent, her eyes darting to every shadow, like she sees something we don't. The map says the clearing's close, but the forest feels like it's fighting us, closing in with every step. The whispers shift, no longer just murmurs, but words, soft, teasing in a language I don't know, yet they feel personal, like secrets pulled from my nightmares. They're coming from everywhere, impossible to pinpoint, driving us to the edge of panic. "This isn't right," Tara whispers, her voice barely audible. We should turn back, but the path behind us is gone, swallowed by ferns and darkness. There's only forward, toward the clearing, toward whatever's waiting. We break through a wall of thorns, and there it is, a wide, circular clearing, the ground bare except for a ring of stones in the center. The moonlight bathes it in silver, making the stones glow faintly, like they're alive. The whispers stop abruptly, leaving a silence so heavy it's suffocating. My ears ring, my skin crawling with the sudden absence of sound. Lila steps forward, her camera raised, but Marcus grabs her arm. "Don't!" he hisses. "Something's wrong here." He's right. The air's thick, charged, like the moment before a lightning strike. I notice carvings on the stones, spirals, symbols I don't recognize, worn but deliberate. They pulse faintly, or maybe that's my imagination. Tara's staring at the center of the ring, her face pale. "There's something there," she says, pointing. I squint, and my breath catches. A small, tattered doll lies in the dirt, its button eyes glinting under the moon. It wasn't there a second ago. No way, Marcus breathes. Lila snaps a photo, the flash blinding, and for a split second I see them. Small figures, childlike, circling the clearing's edge, their faces blurred, their eyes too bright. The way. Whispers return, louder, angrier, chanting now. The doll moves, jerks upright, its head tilting toward us. We're frozen, terrified, as the voices scream our names echoing in the trees. My flashlight dies, plunging us into darkness, and Tara screams. Something brushes my arm, cold and wrong, like fingers made of mist. We're not alone, and whatever's here, it's not letting us leave. Darkness engulfs us, the forest swallowing our flashlight's last gasps. Tara's scream still echoes, sharp and raw, as the childlike whispers turn into a cacophony, shrieking our names from every direction. My heart's a jackhammer, my hands fumbling for my dead flashlight, its plastic cold and useless. Lila's, cursing, her camera's flash firing wildly, each burst revealing glimpses of the clearing. Stones pulsing, the doll now standing, its button eyes fixed on us. Marcus grabs my arm, his voice shaking. Ethan, we gotta move. But move where? The path's gone. The forest a maze of shadows and thorns. We're disoriented, stumbling in the dark. The voices mocking us, giggling like children playing a cruel game. The air's freezing now, unnatural for a fall night, our breaths clouding. In the moonlight, I feel it again, that cold touch brushing my neck, lingering too long. Tara's sobbing, clutching Lila, who's trying to reload her camera's battery. It's not working, Lila snaps, her voice cracking. The doll's, closer now, impossibly. Its tattered dress swaying though there's no wind. I blink and it's gone. But the whispers are louder, chanting words that twist my gut. We need to get out of the circle, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. The stones feel like a trap, their carvings glowing faintly, pulling us in. We stumble toward the clearing's edge, but the thorns are thicker, sharper, like they're alive, snagging our clothes, drawing blood. Marcus swings his flashlight like a club, but it's useless against the forest's will. The whispers are relentless, a chorus of children we can't see, their voices dripping with malice. They're hurting us, Tara whispers, her eyes wild. They want us here. A light flickers, not ours, but something else deep in the trees. It's small, like a candle, bobbing as if carried by tiny hands. Look, Lila points, her camera forgotten. We freeze, watching the light multiply. 2, 3, a dozen circling us, their glow unnatural, sickly green. The whispers soften, almost pleading, but the words are wrong, like a lullaby sung by something ancient and hungry. My skin crawls as the lights draw closer, revealing shapes, small, hunched, their faces hidden in shadow, their hands reaching. I grab Tara's hand, pulling her back. Run! I shout, but the thorns tighten, the lights closing in. The doll reappears, now at my feet, its eyes glinting with intent. The whispers scream, a single word, stay. My vision blurs, and for a moment, I see her, a girl, pale and eyeless, smiling in the dark. We're not just lost, we're hunted, and the forest knows our names. The girl's eyeless face lingers in my mind, her smile a jagged wound in the dark. The whispers are a storm now, swirling around us, calling our names. With a hunger that chills my blood, we're trapped in the clearing, the thorn walls unyielding, the green light circling closer, their glow pulsing like heartbeats. Tara's shaking, her hand gripping mine so tight it hurts. Lila's flashlight flickers back to life, its beam, weak but enough to show the doll, now inches from Marcus, its head tilted as if listening. Get away! He yells, kicking it, but it skitters back, unharmed, its button eyes glinting. We're desperate, clawing at the thorns, searching for a way out. But the forest feels alive, fighting us. The air's thick with the smell of decay, like wet leaves. And something older, fouler. Lila swings her camera, its strap tangled in thorns, and snaps a photo. The flash reveals them. Dozens of childlike figures, their faces pale, their mouths stretched in silent screams, vanishing as the light fades. "They're real," Lila gasps, her voice breaking. Marcus is pale, his bravado gone. What the hell are they? I think of the map, the ritual site. This isn't just a clearing, it's a prison. A place where something was bound and we've stumbled into its cage. The lights are closer now, their shapes clearer. Small, twisted, their hands clutching rags and bones. The whispers chant, a name not ours, Elawan. It's ancient, heavy like a curse. Tara's eyes widen. "That's her," she whispers. "The girl." I don't ask how she knows. I feel it too. A presence older than the forest, watching from the shadows. We huddle in the stone circle, the only place the thorns don't reach. The carvings pulse faster, their glow syncing with the whispers. I notice something new. A symbol etched deeper, a spiral with a slash like a warning. My fingers brush it, and the ground trembles, the whispers shrieking in rage. The doll lunges, its tiny hands clawing at my leg, and I kick it away, my skin burning where it touched. The lights converge, their shapes merging into a single figure. A girl, pale and eyeless, her dress rotting, her smile promising death. "Run!" I scream, but the thorns part, revealing a new path, dark and narrow. We sprint, the whispers chasing, the girl's laughter echoing. The forest wants us to stay, but I won't let it win. We're not prey, not yet. But as we run, I hear her voice, clear and cold. "You're mine." The path twists, and I wonder if we're escaping, or running deeper into her trap. We sprint down the new path, the thorns snapping shut behind us, sealing us in a tunnel of darkness. The whispers follow, a relentless tide of childish voices, giggling, taunting, promising we'll never leave. My lungs burn, my flashlight long gone, but Lila's beam flickers ahead, guiding us through the twisting trail. Marcus is panting. Tara's sobbing, but we don't stop. The forest is alive, its branches clawing at us, its roots tripping our feet. We're running blind, terrified. The voices growing louder, closer, as if the children are right beside us. The path narrows, the air thick with that rotting stench, now mixed with something sweet, like overripe fruit. Lila's light catches, glimpses of the trees, faces carved into the bark, eyeless and screaming, their mouths dripping sap like blood. "This isn't real," Marcus mutters, but his voice shakes. Tara's whispering prayers, her words jumbled, desperate. I feel Elawan's presence, her eyeless gaze boring into my back, her laughter weaving through the whispers. The dolls, somewhere behind us. I hear its tiny feet scuttling, unnatural and fast. The path opens into a smaller clearing, a dead end circled by more stones, these ones blackened, charred as if burned long ago. A crude altar sits in the center, piled with bones, small, fragile, unmistakably human. My stomach lurches, the whispers swell, a chorus of rage and sorrow, surrounding us, trapping us. Lila's flashlight dies, and the green lights return, bobbing in the dark, their shapes clearer now. Children, dozens of them, their faces twisted, their hands clutching tattered toys. They're not just ghosts, they're hers, bound to Elawan, her victims. "We woke her," Tara says, her voice hollow. "This is her place." I think of the library map, the ritual site. Was Elawan a sacrifice? A spirit? Something worse? The altar pulses, its bones rattling. and the doll appears perched atop it, its eyes glowing red. The whispers scream, "Join us!" I grab a stone, ready to smash the doll, but the ground shakes, splitting open, revealing a chasm glowing with sickly light. Hands reach out, pale, childlike, clawing at the air. We back away, but the children close in, their laughter a knife in my skull. Lila screams, her camera yanked from her hands, vanishing into the chasm. Marcus swings at the figures, but they're missed, reforming instantly. I feel Elowen's voice in my head. "Stay forever." The chasm widens, pulling at us, and I know, if we fall, we're hers. But there's one chance, one path glinting in the dark. Can we make it? Or is Elowen already inside us? The chasm's glow pulses, its light searing my eyes as the childlike whispers scream. A deafening roar of rage and hunger, demanding we stay. The children's forms flicker, their twisted faces closing in, their hands brushing our skin, cold as death. Marcus is shouting, swinging wildly, but the figures dissolve and reform, their laughter mocking him. Tara's frozen, staring at the chasm where the doll now floats, its red eyes blazing. Elowen's voice booming through it. "You woke me. You're mine." We're trapped. The forest a living cage, the voices tearing at our sanity. I grab Lila, pulling her from the altar's edge. "There!" I shout, pointing to the glinting path. A faint trail shimmering in the moonlight, barely visible through the thorns. It's our only shot. We sprint, the ground trembling, the chasm widening, its hands clawing at our ankles. The whispers are inside my head now, chanting Elowen, Elowen, each syllable a spike of pain. Lila's sobbing, her camera gone, her hands bleeding from the thorns. Marcus stumbles, a child's hand grabbing his leg, but I yank him free, his face pale with terror. The path twists, the forest fighting us, branches snapping like bones. The carved faces in the trees scream, their sap blood dripping, pooling at our feet. Tara's muttering, "She's in me." Her eyes glassy like Elowen's taken root. I shake her, hard. "Stay with us." The doll's behind us, skittering. Faster. Its laughter Elowen's, promising eternity in the chasm. The green lights swarm, blocking the path, but I charge through, their touch burning, my skin blistering. The whispers peak, a single word. Forever. The path opens to a cliff, the forest ending abruptly. A river roaring below. The map never mentioned this. The chasm's light follows, the children's forms merging into Elowen, tall now, her eyeless, face a void, her smile a promise of oblivion. She reaches, her fingers grazing my neck, and I feel my will slipping, the whispers urging me to jump. Lila screams, snapping me back, and we leap, the river's icy grip swallowing us. The whispers fade, Elowen's scream echoing as we surface, gasping, alive. We drag ourselves to the bank, the forest silent, the cliff gone like it never existed. We escaped, but the whispers linger in our minds, a faint echo of her voice. Tara's shaking, Marcus is mute, Lila's eyes hollow. The doll's gone, but I feel Elowen, watching, waiting. Did we break her curse, or did we carry it with us? The river saved us, but the forest knows our names, and I'm not sure we're free. We stumble into town at dawn, soaked and shivering, the river's chill still in our bones. The main sunrise paints the sky gold, but it can't touch the cold. Inside us, the whispers are gone, but their echo clings to us, a faint hum in our minds. Like Elowen's voice carved into our souls. The town's quiet, its streets empty, the locals unaware of the nightmare we left behind. We collapse at a diner, our clothes torn, our faces gaunt. The waitress stares, but we don't care. We're alive. Barely. Lila's silent, her hands trembling as she clutches a coffee mug. Marcus stares at the table, his usual bravado shattered. Tara's worse. Her eyes dart to the windows like she expects Elowen to appear. We're haunted, not just by the forest, but by what we felt, what we saw. I try to speak, to make sense of it, but my throat's tight. The doll, the chasm, those children, they weren't just ghosts, they were hers, bound to a curse we woke. And Elowen, she's not done. I pull out the map, crumpled but intact, its ink smudged from the river. The ritual sites marked, but the cliff, the river, they're not there. I search online, digging through local legends. Blackthorn Forest has a history, missing. Hikers, strange lights, whispers reported since the 1800s. One story chills me. A girl named Elowen sacrificed by a cult, her spirit bound to the forest, claiming anyone who enters. The stones, the bones, it fits. We didn't just wander in. We were drawn there. Tara breaks the silence. I heard her, she whispers. In my head, she's still here. Lila nods, her voice hoarse. My photos, they're gone. The camera's empty. Marcus laughs, a hollow sound. We're screwed, aren't we? I don't answer. I feel it too, a weight like Elowen's eyes on me, her whispers waiting to return. At night I dream of the chasm, her face, her voice promising I'll come back. My mirror shows scratches on my neck, faint but real, where she touched me. We vow never to return. But the forest isn't done with us. Lila finds a photo on her phone, one she didn't take. A child's face, eyeless, smiling. Marcus hears, giggles in his dorm. Tara's drawing spirals like the stones without realizing it. And me? I hear her name, faint but clear in the wind. The forest let us go, but Elowen didn't. She's waiting, and I'm scared we'll hear her call again. Days turn to weeks, but Blackthorn Forest clings to us like a shadow we can't shake. I'm back in my apartment trying to resume normal life. Classes, friends, routine. But Elowen's whisper echoes in my mind, a constant reminder of that night. I avoid mirrors, scared of the scratches on my neck, now faint scars that itch when I'm alone. Lila's withdrawn, her blog abandoned, her nights spent staring at that cursed photo. The eyeless child's smile burned into her. Marcus drinks too much, jumping at every sound, convinced the giggles follow him. Tara's the worst. She's stopped talking, her drawings now covering her walls, spirals and faces, all Elowen's. I dig deeper, desperate for answers. The library's archives mention a 19th century cult, worshippers of a forest mother, who sacrificed children to bind her spirit. Elowen was their last, a girl with power they feared, her death sealing the forest's curse. The stones, the chasm, they're her prison, and we open the door. A local historian warns me, leave it alone, she claims what she touches. But I can't. The whispers are back, faint but growing, calling us to return. One night, Lila calls, her voice frantic. It's moving, she says. The photo, the child's face shifts each time she looks, its smile wider, its eyes darker. I rush to her place, finding her room a mess, papers scrawled with Elowen's name. The photo's on her laptop, and she's right. The face is different, closer, like it's watching us. The air grows cold, the whispers rising, and the lights flicker. Tara arrives, her hands shaking, holding a drawing. A perfect sketch of the chasm, Elowen's face rising from it. Marcus stumbles in, drunk, muttering about a doll in his room. We're marked, bound to her, and the forest knows it. The historian's words echo. She claims what she touches. I feel her now, her presence in my chest, her voice in my blood. The scratches burn, and I hear her. Come back. We could run, hide, but she'd find us. There's one choice: return to the forest, face her, break the curse. But can we? Or will we join her children trapped forever? The whispers grow louder, the forest calling. We're not thrill seekers anymore. We're prey and allowance hungry. If you've ever heard a voice in the dark, felt eyes where no one should be, tell us below. And if you're near Blackthorn Forest, stay away. She's waiting. Are you brave enough to face her? Every small town has its ghost stories, but in Ashwood, Oregon, the whispers always circled back to Harlow's Jewelers. The shop, a century-old cornerstone of Main Street, wore its history like a shroud. Locals spoke of a 1927 robbery where thieves' blood stained the basement, and of Evelyn Harlow, whose 1930s disappearance fueled tales of a cursed ruby ring. When Sarah and I bought the place in 2023, we saw opportunity, not omens. At 28, we were broke, dreaming of a fresh start, blind to the shop's weight. Our apartment above was a creaky haven, its windows rattling, its floors groaning. The main floor sparkled with glass cases, diamonds, sapphires, but the basement was a crypt, a cold, cavernous space. It held old inventory and relics, its air damp, its shadows alive, watching. I loathed it, the silence too heavy, but Sarah's teasing couldn't hide her own unease. She avoided it after dark, her laughter thin when I mentioned the hum in the walls. The first month was deceptively calm. Rings misplaced, cases left open, but we blamed fatigue. Customers came, but old-timers at the diner whispered, their eyes on the shop's faded sign. Norma, a 90s employee, warned me one night. "You feel watched down there, don't you?" she said, trembling. "That basement takes people." Her words lingered, especially when mirrors showed shadows not mine. When scratches echoed at night, oddities piled up. A customer's necklace tightened, leaving welts. Another saw a face in a case, not hers. I checked cameras daily, but they showed nothing, just the shop, the basement door, locked. Then, at 3 a.m., the alarm screamed. The motion sensor in the basement had tripped, its light flashing. No one could be there, doors bolted, windows secure. Something was. We scrambled out of bed, half-dressed in our underwear, Sarah's eyes panicked, mine dreading. We were terrified, grabbing a flashlight and crowbar, descending to the shop. The main floor was dark, cases glinting like eyes. The alarm's wail drowned out everything, but beneath, a soft thud like footsteps paced below. We felt watched, skin prickling, as we faced the basement door. I killed the alarm, but the quiet was heavy, oppressive. Sarah's grip tightened. "What triggered it?" she whispered. The cameras showed nothing, the basement door slightly ajar. We felt watched, the air stinging as we descended. The basement was freezing, unnaturally so. The cold biting, the flashlight weak. Boxes lined the walls, glinting like teeth. In the corner, an old painting of a woman, stern, her eyes too alive. "Look," Sarah hissed, pointing. Dust swirled in patterns, no footprints, just a ghost's dance. We heard a soft thud, like footsteps from the far wall. "There's nothing here," I said, voice cracking. But we felt watched, the presence suffocating. We searched, breaths fogging, finding no sign of a break-in. The motion sensor blinked, mocking. Sarah stared at the painting. "It's her," she whispered. I refused to believe. Another thud came from above. We were terrified, racing upstairs, but the shop was empty, cameras blank. The air was heavy, metallic scent like blood clinging. The fear lingered, a knot in my chest. In the apartment, the trapdoor loomed. "What if it wasn't a person?" Sarah asked. Norma's warning haunted me. At the diner, she was gaunt. "It's the basement," she said. "In '94, we heard thuds, saw rings move. That painting shift. It doesn't let go." She spoke of the 1927 robbery, a thief clutching a cursed ruby ring, and Evelyn vanished in the 1930s, her spirit tied to the shop. The library revealed more. Owners dying young, alarms tripping, whispers. Evelyn practiced occult rituals, her painting an anchor for something older, hungrier. Dr. Eliza Warren, an occult historian, confirmed it. "The shop's a nexus," she said. Evelyn led a cult binding spirits to objects. The ring and painting woke something, the eternal. She warned, "It feeds on fear. Leave." But we were trapped, our savings gone. The alarms kept tripping at 3 a.m., the motion sensor relentless. We checked the cameras, saw nothing, but the fear lingered. The painting's eyes glinted. Whispers called Sarah from the trapdoor. I heard them, a murmur in the walls. We felt, watched, the metallic scent decaying. Rings moved, the ruby ring appearing, glowing. My touch burned, a welt forming. Sarah dreamed of Evelyn, bloody, pointing below. "It's down there," she said. Customers saw shadows in mirrors, jewelry tightening. A driver saw a woman in the basement window, shop locked. We were terrified. Unraveling. Norma texted, "Run." Carl, a paranormal investigator, came, his gear spiking. "It's heavy down here," he said. The motion sensor tripped, his camera catching a blur. A figure vanishing. A voice hissed, "Mine." "This isn't a ghost," Carl said. "The ring's an anchor. Destroy it." The ring wouldn't melt, pulsing. Another thud, then a cruel laugh. Sarah grew glassy-eyed, tracing my welt. I saw Evelyn in mirrors, her smile sharp. We heard thuds, knocks sinking with our hearts. The basement was freezing, the painting shifting. We felt watched, the metallic scent choking. Sarah's welts formed runes. The fear lingered, unbreakable. We buried the ring in a safe under the floor. Alarms stopped. Thuds faded. Sarah smiled, but at 3 a.m. the motion sensor tripped. We scrambled out of bed, half-dressed in our underwear, terrified. The door was wide open, the ring gone. We descended, terrified. The basement freezing, metallic scent thick. The painting of a woman, her eyes glowing, smiled predatorily. A soft thud, like footsteps, then mine. "She's here," Sarah gasped. Dust swirled in patterns, Evelyn's face growling, "You can't leave." We felt watched, the presence choking. The trapdoor slammed, darkness fell. Another thud. A shadow crawled, red-eyed, not Evelyn, but the eternal. We were terrified, escaping as it lunged. We fled to a motel, the ring pulsing. Dreams of Evelyn, chanting mine. Sarah's welts glowed runes. Mirrors cracked, metallic scent, clung. The fear lingered. Customers saw a woman in the boarded shop. Norma vanished, leaving an earring. Carl warned, "Don't go back." Sarah's dreams consumed her, runes bleeding, eternal. She drew Evelyn, too many eyes. "It's calling me," her voice layered. Father Daniel collapsed, whispering, "This isn't a ghost." The ring bled ichor, returning whole. Sarah stood outside Harlow's, welts glowing. "It's down there," she said, not herself. The shop opened, basement red, the shadow waiting. She walked to it, eyes empty. We were terrified, the doors slammed. I returned, the shop a husk heavy. The basement was freezing, her eyes glowing. The ring glowed. A thud. The Eternal's void face smiled. I burned the ring, it screamed. Last night. A soft thud, metallic scent. In the mirror, a woman, red-eyed, smiled. Sarah's gone, the Eternal's face. The fear lingers. Avoid Harlow's. It's watching, and it never stops. In the winter of 2016, I woke up to a shadow standing at the foot of my bed, staring at me. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't my imagination. It was there, tall, dark, and wrong. And when I flipped on the light, it vanished, leaving me shaking and sleepless for weeks. That night changed me, and even now, years later, I can't shake the feeling it's still watching. This is my story, and I swear it's true. My name's Emily, and back then I was 29, living alone in a small apartment in upstate New York. I'd moved there from Ohio for a new job as a graphic designer, excited for a fresh start. The apartment was a steal, a one-bedroom on the third floor of an old brick building, with creaky hardwood floors and windows that let in icy drafts. At first, I loved the quiet. No noisy neighbors, no city traffic, just the hum of the radiator and the occasional creak of the building settling. I'd spend my evenings sketching, listening to music, feeling like I was finally building a life. But after a few weeks, that peace started to crack. I began noticing things, small, unsettling things that I couldn't explain. It started with my keys. I'd leave them on the kitchen counter, but I'd find them on the coffee table or once inside a drawer I never used. I thought I was being forgetful, maybe stressed from the new job. But then came the feeling of being watched. I'd be cooking dinner or watching TV and my skin would prickle, like someone was standing behind me. I'd turn around, but no one was there. I started double-checking the locks every night, even though I lived in a safe neighborhood. My friends back home laughed when I told them, saying I was just adjusting to living alone. "Get a cat," one said. But I knew it wasn't. Just nerves. Something was off, and it was getting worse. The weeks leading up to that night were unsettling, but I didn't realize how bad it was until I looked back. My apartment started feeling less like a home and more like a place I was trapped in. At night, I'd hear faint noises, scratches in the walls like mice, but sharper, more deliberate, like nails dragging across wood. I'd check every corner, shine a flashlight under the furniture, but there was nothing. No rodents, no holes, just silence. My sleep got worse. I'd wake up at 3 a.m., heart pounding, feeling like someone was in the room with me. I'd lie, there, staring at the ceiling, too scared to move, too scared to look around. Once I swore I heard a whisper, low and garbled, like it came from under the bed. I told myself it was the radiator, but I stopped sleeping with the lights off after. That other things started happening too. My coffee mug would be on the counter when I knew I'd put it in the sink. The bathroom mirror would fog up when I hadn't taken a shower, with streaks like someone had run their fingers across it. One night, I came home from work and found my front door slightly ajar, the deadbolt undone. I always locked it, always. I called the landlord thinking someone had broken in, but he checked and said the building was secure, no signs of tampering. "Old buildings play tricks," he said, but I didn't buy it. My friends said I was paranoid, maybe working too hard, but I wasn't imagining it. I started keeping a journal, writing down every weird thing, dates, times, details, trying to convince myself I wasn't losing my mind. A week before that night, I saw something that made my blood run cold. I was in bed scrolling through my phone when I felt it. That watched feeling, stronger than ever. I looked up, and in the corner of my room, near the closet, there was a shadow. Not a person, not a shape I could describe. Just a dark, human-sized mass that seemed to move without moving, like it was pulsing. I blinked and it was gone, like it had melted into the wall. I told myself it was my eyes playing tricks, exhaustion from staring at screens all day. But I didn't sleep that night. I kept my lamp on, my back pressed against the headboard, waiting for morning. Something was in my apartment, and it was getting bolder. I started dreading the dark, counting the hours until sunrise, and knowing it was only a matter of time before it showed itself again. That night in February 2016 is burned into my memory, a moment I'll never escape. I'd gone to bed early, exhausted from a long day at work, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. I kept my bedside lamp off, trying to prove to myself I wasn't scared, that I could handle whatever was messing with me. Around 2 a.m. I woke up, my heart racing, like something had jolted me out of sleep. The room was pitch black, the kind of dark that swallows everything. I felt it before I saw it. Something was there, in the room, with me. I lay still, barely breathing, my eyes straining against the darkness. And then I saw it. A dark figure, standing near my bed, tall and shapeless, like a shadow with weight, a void that sucked in the little light there was. It wasn't moving, but I could feel its presence, heavy and oppressive, like it was staring right into me. My skin crawled, my chest tightened, and I couldn't move, couldn't scream, like I was pinned to the bed by its gaze. I don't know how long I lay there, frozen, seconds or minutes, but I finally found the courage to reach for the lamp. My hand was shaking so badly I almost knocked it over, my fingers fumbling for the switch. I flicked it on, and the figure vanished the second the light came on. The room was empty, just my bed, my dresser, my closet, all bathed in the soft glow of the lamp. But I wasn't alone. I could still feel it, like it was hiding in the walls, in the shadows the light couldn't reach, waiting for the dark to come back. I sat there, lamp on, clutching my blanket, too scared to close my eyes. My journal was on the nightstand, and I grabbed it, writing down everything, the time, the figure, the way it felt. My hand shook so much the words were barely legible, but I had to get it out. That figure wasn't a dream. It wasn't a trick of the light. It was real, and it wanted me to know it was there. I stayed awake until dawn, the lamp burning bright, my back against the headboard. I checked every inch of the room, the closet, under the bed. Nothing. But the air felt wrong, charged, like something was lingering just out of sight. I didn't go to work the next day. I couldn't. I sat on my couch, journal in hand, reading over my notes, trying to make sense of it. I kept asking myself, what was it? Why me? And why did it feel like it wasn't done with me? I didn't sleep that night, or the next. The experience left me anxious and unable to sleep. My mind replaying that shadow over and over, its presence etched into my bones. I kept every light on, checked every corner, but the feeling of being watched never left. I couldn't stay in that apartment without feeling like it was waiting for me to turn off the light. I started researching, desperate for answers, anything to explain what I'd seen. I called my landlord again, asking about the building's history. He was vague, said it was old, built in the 1920s and had a history. He wouldn't say more, but a neighbor, Mrs. Larson, an older woman who'd lived there for decades, filled in the blanks. She told me about a tenant from the 1980s, a man named Daniel who lived in my apartment. He was troubled, she said, always talking about seeing things, hearing voices in the walls. He died there, alone, in the middle of the night, under circumstances no one could explain. After his death, people swore they saw a shadow in his window, moving when the apartment was empty. I dug deeper, scouring local records and paranormal forums online. I found stories about my building, tenants over the years, reporting scratches in the walls, shadows in their rooms, a heavy presence that woke them at night. One woman in the 90s said she moved out after finding claw marks on her bedroom door. Another, from 2005, described a figure like mine, tall, dark, vanishing in the light. A post on a paranormal forum claimed the entity was tied to the land. Something dark that predated the building, maybe even the town. It's not a ghost, the user wrote. It's older, hungrier. It picks people who live alone. I didn't know what to believe, but the stories were too similar to dismiss. I tried cleansing the apartment with sage, like Mrs. Larson suggested, burning it in every room, chanting prayers I found online. It didn't help. If anything, things got worse. I'd hear scratches louder than before, always at night, always from the closet. My journal pages started tearing, like someone had ripped them out while I slept. One night I felt a cold spot in the closet, so cold my breath fogged, even though the heat was on. I couldn't take it anymore. 3 months after that night, I broke my lease and moved out, leaving half my stuff behind. I didn't care, I just wanted out. But the fear followed me. In my new place, I still feel it sometimes. That watched sensation, like eyes in the dark. I hear faint scratches at night, barely audible, but enough to keep me awake. I'm 38 now, and I've never told this story publicly until today. It's been years, but it still bothers me. A weight I can't shake. I don't know what that shadow was. A ghost, a demon, or something else. But it was real, and it saw me. If you've ever woken up to something in your room, something that vanished when the light came on, tell me in the comments. I need to know I'm not the only one. And if you're ever in upstate New York, stay away from that old apartment, building on Elm Street. Something's still there, and it's waiting for the lights to go out. Heavy and oppressive, like it was staring right into me. My skin crawled, my chest tightened, and I couldn't move, couldn't scream, like I was pinned to the bed by its gaze. I don't know how long I lay there, frozen, seconds or minutes, but I finally found the courage to reach for the lamp. My hand was shaking so badly I almost knocked it over, my fingers fumbling for the switch. I flicked it on, and the figure vanished the second the light came on. The room was empty. Just my bed, my dresser, my closet, all bathed in the soft glow of the lamp. But I wasn't alone. I could still feel it, like it was hiding in the walls, in the shadows the light couldn't reach, waiting for the dark to come back. I sat there, lamp on, clutching my blanket, too scared to close my eyes. My journal was on the nightstand, and I grabbed it, writing down everything. The time, the figure, the way it felt. My hand shook so much the words were barely legible, but I had to get it out. That figure wasn't a dream. It wasn't a trick of the light. It was real, and it wanted me to know it was there. I stayed awake until dawn, the lamp burning bright, my back against the headboard. I checked every inch of the room, the closet, under the bed. Nothing. But the air felt wrong, charged, like something was lingering just out of sight. I didn't go to work the next day. I couldn't. I sat on my couch, journal in hand, reading over my notes, trying to make sense of it. I kept asking myself, what was it? Why me? And why did it feel like it wasn't done with me? I didn't sleep that night, or the next. The experience left me anxious and unable to sleep. My mind replaying that shadow over and over, its presence etched into my bones. I kept every light on, checked every corner, but the feeling of being watched never left. I couldn't stay in that apartment without feeling like it was waiting for me to turn off the light. I started researching, desperate for answers, anything to explain what I'd seen. I called my landlord again, asking about the building's history. He was vague, said it was old, built in the 1920s and had a history. He wouldn't say more, but a neighbor, Mrs. Larson, an older woman who'd lived there for decades, filled in the blanks. She told me about a tenant from the 1980s, a man named Daniel who lived in my apartment. He was troubled, she said, always talking about seeing things. hearing voices in the walls. He died there, alone, in the middle of the night, under circumstances no one could explain. After his death, people swore they saw a shadow in his window, moving when the apartment was empty. I dug deeper, scouring local records and paranormal forums online. I found stories about my building, tenants over the years, reporting scratches in the walls, shadows in their rooms, a heavy presence that woke them at night. One woman in the 90s said she moved out after finding claw marks on her bedroom door. Another, from 2005, described a figure like mine, tall, dark, vanishing in the light. A post on a paranormal forum claimed the entity was tied to the land. Something dark that predated the building, maybe even the town. "It's not a ghost," the user wrote. "It's older, hungrier. It picks people who live alone." I didn't know what to believe, but the stories were too similar to dismiss. I tried cleansing the apartment with sage, like Mrs. Larson suggested, burning it in every room, chanting prayers I found online. It didn't help. If anything, things got worse. I'd hear scratches louder than before, always at night, always from the closet. My journal pages started tearing, like someone had ripped them out while I slept. One night I felt a cold spot in the closet, so cold my breath fogged, even though the heat was on. I couldn't take it anymore. 3 months after that night, I broke my lease and moved out, leaving half my stuff behind. I didn't care, I just wanted out. But the fear followed me. In my new place, I still feel it sometimes. That watched sensation, like eyes in the dark. I hear faint scratches at night, barely audible, but enough to keep me awake. I'm 38 now, and I've never told this story publicly until today. It's been years, but it still bothers me, a weight I can't shake. I don't know what that shadow was, a ghost, a demon, or something else, but it was real, and it saw me. If you've ever woken up to something in your room, something that vanished when the light came on, tell me in the comments. I need to know I'm not the only one. And if you're ever in upstate New York, stay away from that old apartment, building on Elm Street. Something's still there, and it's waiting for the lights to go out. Some moments sear into your memory, like a scar you can't ignore. In the summer of 2013, in a dusty corner of Tucson, Arizona, I crossed paths with a stranger who changed how I see the world. My name's Mia, a 22-year-old barista scraping by in a desert town where the sun never quits. What happened that day wasn't just weird. It was a brush with something dark, something that still crawls under my skin. Buckle up, because this story will twist your reality and keep you hooked until the end. I worked at a rundown coffee shop, the kind where locals lingered too long and the AC barely worked. One afternoon, the place was dead, just me and the hum, the espresso machine. That's when he walked in, a man, maybe 50, with wild eyes and a grin that didn't match his face. His clothes were mismatched, like he'd raided a thrift store blindfolded, and his hands twitched like they had a mind of their own. He didn't order, just sat in the corner staring at me. Not a casual glance, but a laser-focused gaze that made my stomach churn. He stayed for hours, nursing a single coffee, his eyes never leaving me. Tried to ignore him, busying myself with cleaning, but his presence was a weight I couldn't shake. Customers came and went, but he didn't budge. Around closing, I was sweeping up when he finally approached. My heart skipped as he leaned over the counter, too close, his breath sour. "I have something for you," he said, his voice low like he was sharing a secret. Before I could respond, he pressed a small object into my hand. A necklace, cheap and tarnished, with a pendant shaped like a crooked star. It felt wrong, heavy in a way that didn't make sense. I mumbled a thanks, desperate to get him out. But his grin widened and he whispered, "Wear it, it's special." Then he was gone, vanishing into the dusk like he'd never been there. I locked up, my hands shaking, the necklace burning a hole in my pocket. I should have tossed it, but something stopped me. Was it curiosity, fear, or something else? That night I started to realize this wasn't just a creepy encounter. It was the beginning of something much bigger, something that would unravel my world. I got home that night, the necklace still in my pocket, its weight nagging at me like a bad decision. My apartment was a shoebox cluttered with thrift store furniture and half-dead plants, but it was mine. I dropped the necklace on my kitchen counter, trying to forget the man's wild eyes. But every time I glanced at it, my skin prickled, like the pendant was watching me back. I told myself I was being paranoid. Creepy customers were part of the job, right? But deep down, I knew this was different. I tried to sleep, but the necklace haunted my thoughts. Around 2 a.m., I gave up and pulled it out, holding it under the dim light of my lamp. The crooked star was etched with tiny, jagged lines like someone had scratched them with a knife. It wasn't just tacky, it felt wrong, like it carried a piece of the man's madness. I shoved it into a drawer, but the unease lingered, coiling in my chest like smoke. That's when I noticed the air in my apartment felt heavier, the silence too thick. The next day at work, I was jumpy, scanning every customer for those wild eyes. My coworker, Jess, noticed. "You okay, Mia?" she asked. Her brow furrowed. I told her about the man, the necklace, leaving out how it made my heart race. She laughed it off, saying I was overreacting, but I couldn't shake the feeling he'd come back. Jess suggested I pawn the necklace, but the thought of touching it again made my stomach twist. I didn't tell her how I'd woken up to faint. Scratches outside my window, too rhythmic to be random. By evening, the coffee shop felt like a trap. Every shadow seemed to move. Every creak sounded like footsteps. I kept the necklace in my bag, too scared to leave it at home, but too spooked to wear it. Closing up alone, I felt eyes on me again, though the shop was empty. I turned off the lights, my pulse hammering, and that's when I heard it. A low hum, like a voice trapped in static, coming from my bag. The necklace. I froze, my breath catching. Was it my imagination, or was something waking up? This wasn't just a gift, it was a curse, and I was already tangled in its web. I couldn't ignore the necklace anymore. Its hum lingered in my ears, a taunt I couldn't shake. I took the next day off, determined to figure out what I was dealing with. Sitting at my kitchen table, I examined the pendant again, its jagged etchings glinting like they held a secret. I snapped a photo and posted it on a local Tucson forum, asking if anyone recognized it. Within hours, I got a private message from someone named Desert Wanderer. Their words chilled me. "Get rid of that thing. It's tied to bad blood." I messaged back begging for details, but they went offline. My gut screamed to listen, but curiosity burned stronger. I started digging online, searching for anything about cursed jewelry in Tucson. I found, and a wind whipped up, howling like a living thing. Jess grabbed my arm, her eyes wide. "Something's wrong," she whispered. The box rattled, the pendant glowing through the wood, its light pulsing like a heartbeat. I threw it into the hole, shoveling dirt as fast as I could, but the hum didn't stop. It grew, a scream in my mind. We ran back to the car, the desert alive with shadows that weren't there before. As Jess floored the gas, I looked back. The church was glowing, a sickly red light seeping from the ground. Was it the necklace? Or something it had summoned? We didn't speak the whole drive back, the hum fading, but never gone. I thought we'd won, but deep down I knew better. The man, the necklace, they were part of something bigger, and it wasn't finished with me. Back in Tucson, I thought it was over. The necklace was buried, the hum silenced. But the desert had left its mark. My apartment felt different, too. Quiet, like it was waiting. Jess went home, but I could tell she was shaken, her usual jokes replaced by nervous glances. I tried to resume normal life, pouring coffee, smiling at customers, but the man's grin haunted me. Every night I checked my locks twice, my knife never far. The nightmares didn't stop. They got worse. In my dreams, the church glowed red, and he was there. His eyes black pits, the necklace around his neck. He'd whisper, "You can't run." And I'd wake up gasping, my room colder than it should be. One night I found scratches on my door, deep and jagged, like claws. I called Elena, my voice trembling. She wasn't surprised. The necklace was a key, she said. Burying it locked the door, but something's still knocking. She urged me to leave Tucson, but I couldn't afford it. I was trapped. Things started happening at the coffee shop, too. Customers complained of a weird vibe, and my boss found strange marks on the walls like burns. I knew it was connected, but I couldn't prove it. Jess quit, saying she couldn't handle the creepy shit anymore. I didn't blame her, but being alone at work felt like walking into a lion's den. One evening I was closing up when the lights flickered, and the hum returned, faint but unmistakable. I checked my bag. Empty. The necklace was gone, but its presence lingered, like a shadow I couldn't shake. I started researching the cult, again desperate for answers. A librarian pointed me to an old newspaper clipping. The 1980s fire wasn't an accident. The cult had been experimenting with doorways to another realm, and something went wrong. The man who gave me the necklace, was he one of them, or something they'd summoned? The more I learned, the more I felt like a pawn in a game I didn't understand. The necklace was buried, but its power wasn't. Something was coming for me, and I had to face it before it was too late. I couldn't run anymore. The hum was back, louder, vibrating in my skull. My apartment was a prison, every shadow a threat. I called Elena again, begging for help. She agreed to one last ritual, but warned me. This isn't just about the necklace anymore. It's about you. Her words sank like stones. Whatever this was, it had chosen me, and burying the pendant hadn't stopped it. It had pissed it off. We met at her shop, the air thick with incense. Elena drew a circle of salt, placing me in the center with candles at every point. She chanted, her voice steady, but I felt the hum fighting back, a pulse that shook the floor. The candles flared, then died, and the room went dark. That's when I saw him, the man standing in the corner, his grin now a snarl. He stepped forward, his eyes black, the necklace glowing around his neck. "You can't lock me out," he hissed, his voice a chorus of whispers. I screamed, but Elena kept chanting, her hands trembling. The air crackled, and I felt it. A presence. Not just the man, but something bigger, older, slithering through the dark. It wasn't human, it was a void. A hunger that wanted to swallow me whole. The man lunged, his hands clawing for me. But Elena threw salt, and he recoiled, shrieking. The necklace burned brighter, its light searing my eyes. I grabbed a candle, relit it, and thrust it at him. The room exploded in sound. Screams, not his but hers. A woman's voice trapped in the pendant. Elena shouted, "Break it!" I tore the necklace from his neck, the metal scorching my skin, and smashed it on the floor. The stars shattered, and the room stilled, the hum gone. The man collapsed, his body limp, his eyes empty. Elena panted, "It's not over, but it's weaker." She burned the fragments, sealing them in salt. I wanted to believe we'd won, but the woman's scream echoed in my mind. Who was she? And what had we unleashed? The man was gone, but the void wasn't. It was waiting, biding its time. The man was gone, but the nightmare wasn't. Elena's ritual had broken the necklace, but the woman's scream haunted me. A puzzle I couldn't ignore. I needed answers. I went back to the library, digging through archives. about the cult. A faded photo caught my eye. A group in robes standing in the desert. The crooked star etched on a stone altar. In the center was a woman, her face blurred but familiar. Was she the voice? I found a name. Lila Crane, the cult's leader, who'd vanished after the fire. The article called her a conduit for something beyond. I tracked down a retired cop, Frank, who'd investigated the cult in the 80s. He met me at a diner, his eyes wary. Lila thought she could control it, he said, his voice rough. She opened a door and it ate her. He described the fire, unnatural, unstoppable, like it was alive. I showed him a sketch of the man and his face darkened. The jewelry was a lure, Frank confirmed, meant to bind its wearer to the entity. I was supposed to be its next vessel. Frank warned me to leave Tucson. It's not gone, he said. It's waiting. I wanted to believe he was wrong, but the scratches on my door, the hum in my dreams, they told a different story. I started noticing shadows in my peripheral vision, always gone when I turned. My apartment felt like a stage, and I was the only actor unaware of the script. One night, I woke to a whisper. Lila, it wasn't my voice. I grabbed my knife, searching the room, but found nothing, except a faint burn mark on the floor, shaped like a crooked star. I called Elena, but her shop was closed, her phone disconnected. Panic set in. Had the entity taken her? I was alone. And the truth was clear. Lila's ritual had torn a hole in reality, and the necklace was its anchor. Destroying it had weakened the entity, but it was still here, tied to me. I had to close the door Lila opened. But how? The answer lay in the desert, where it all began, and I wasn't sure I'd survive the trip. I had no choice. The entity was closing in, its whispers louder, its shadows bolder. I packed a bag, grabbed a shovel, and drove back to the desert. The church's coordinates burned into my mind. The hum returned, a pulse in my veins urging me forward. The night was moonless, the desert a void of its own. I reached the church at midnight, its ruins glowing faintly like the ground remembered the necklace's light. I wasn't alone. I felt it, watching, waiting. I dug where we'd buried the necklace, the earth cold and unyielding. The hum grew, deafening, a scream that wasn't mine. The dirt parted, revealing fragments of the pendant still glowing red. As I reached for them, the ground shook and she appeared. Lila, her face half-formed, her eyes pleading. "Close it," she whispered, her voice breaking. Behind her, the void surged, a writhing mass of darkness, its hunger palpable. It wasn't just after me. It wanted everything. I poured salt, chanting Elena's words, my hands shaking. The void roared, a sound that tore through my skull, and Lila lunged, not at me, but at it. Her form flickered, fighting to hold it back. I smashed the fragments, each blow a prayer, and buried them deeper, sealing the hole with every ounce of will I had. The ground stilled, the hum faded, and Lila was gone. The void retreated, but I felt its eyes lingering in the dark. I drove back to Tucson, exhausted but alive. The man never appeared again, his vessel broken, but I'll never forget his grin. I moved away, leaving the desert behind, but the scars remain. I dream of Lila, her sacrifice, and the door she opened. The coffee shop closed, its walls still marked, a reminder of what I escaped. Frank was right. It's not gone, just waiting. Sometimes I hear a hum, faint in the quiet of the night. Is it in my head, or is the void still out there, hunting? What would you do if a stranger gave you a gift that wasn't a gift? Check your pockets, your dreams, because some doors never close. Stay tuned. Our next story might be the one that keeps you up all night. The fluorescent lights flicker in the small law office where Amy sits, her hands trembling as she signs the final affidavit that could change everything. It's a rainy April evening in 2025, and the Seattle skyline glimmers through the window, a stark contrast to the storm brewing in her life. Amy, a 29-year-old paralegal, has just testified against a powerful pharmaceutical company, exposing their role in a defective drug scandal that harmed thousands. Her testimony, given under oath last week, has made her a target, and the weight of that decision presses down on her like a physical force. As she hands the document to her boss, a sharp knock echoes through the office, not from the door, but from the window, 10 stories up. Amy's head snaps toward the sound, her heart lurching as she sees a shadow, human-shaped, impossibly tall, pressed against the glass, its edges blurred by the rain. The shadow's hand moves, leaving a smear of something dark on the window, and then it vanishes, as if swallowed by the storm. Amy's boss, a stern woman named Karen, notices her reaction and tries to reassure her. It's just the wind. But her voice lacks conviction, and Amy can't shake the feeling that someone, or something, is watching her. Amy's boyfriend, Jake, waits for her in the parking garage, his knuckles white on the steering wheel as he scans the shadows. My girlfriend Amy has been involved in a high-profile lawsuit against a major pharmaceutical company. She's been on edge since the trial began, her once confident demeanor replaced by a quiet, pervasive fear that follows her like a shadow. She was a key witness, and her testimony helped expose some pretty damning evidence. Jake knows the stakes, Amy's. Evidence led to a multi-million-dollar settlement, but it also painted a target on her back, one that neither of them can ignore. Ever since then, she's been on edge, convinced that someone's watching her. As Amy slides into the passenger seat, her face pale and her breathing shallow, she tells Jake about the shadow at the window. It wasn't a reflection, she insists, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and certainty. It was someone. I saw it leave a mark. Jake tries to reassure her, his hand squeezing hers, but his eyes dart to the rearview mirror, where a black sedan idles at the far end of the garage, its headlights off but engine running. A silent predator in the dim light. He pulls out of the parking space, the sedan following at a distance, its presence a chilling confirmation of Amy's fears. Amy clutches her phone, her fingers hovering over 911, but Jake shakes his head, his voice tight. We need proof, he says, though the fear in his eyes mirrors hers, and the sedan's headlights glint in the mirror like the eyes of a hunter. The drive home is a tense gauntlet, the sedan trailing them through the rain-slicked streets of Seattle, its pace deliberate and unyielding. We started noticing cars following us, always different ones, but they'd show up at the same places. Amy spots the sedan again, now joined by a gray SUV. Both vehicles keeping a careful distance but never losing sight, their headlights cutting through the night like the eyes of predators stalking their prey. It wasn't just paranoia. These cars were deliberately tailing us. Jake takes a detour, weaving through narrow side streets, his hands gripping the wheel so tightly his knuckles turn white. But the vehicles follow, their movements synchronized, as if they know every turn he'll... Amy's phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. You shouldn't have spoken. Her breath catches in her throat, and she shows Jake, who slams his fist on the steering wheel, his voice a mix of anger and fear. They're trying to scare you, he says, but the words feel hollow as the SUV pulls closer, its engine growling, like a beast ready to pounce. They reach their apartment, a modest unit in a quiet neighborhood, and Jake parks in the alley, hoping to lose their pursuers in the maze of back streets. But as they climb the stairs to their door, Amy glances back and sees the SUV parked across the street, its driver's silhouette motionless, watching them with an intensity that sends a shiver down her spine. Inside, she locks the door, her hands shaking uncontrollably, and Jake checks the windows, his jaw tight with determination. The rain outside intensifies, a relentless drumbeat that mirrors Amy's racing heart, and she can't shake the feeling that the shadow from the office has followed them home. Its dark smear on the window, a mark of something far more sinister than a storm. The next day, Amy tries to focus at work, but the tension is unbearable, a constant weight on her chest that makes every sound, every shadow, a potential threat. Amy started getting anonymous messages, texts, emails, even handwritten notes left at our door. The messages are cryptic but menacing, each one a dagger of fear. You can't hide. We see you. Silence is safer. Jake insists she report them to the police, but Amy hesitates. She's already spoken to the authorities, who dismissed her concerns as paranoia, citing a lack of concrete evidence and the difficulty of tracing anonymous threats. The messages were always untraceable, but they knew things about her, her schedule, her habits. One note mentions the coffee shop she visits every morning, describing the exact latte she orders. Another references a scarf she wore 2 days ago, a detail so intimate it makes her skin crawl. Jake buys a security camera for their apartment, setting it up to monitor the entrance, hoping to catch whoever's behind this on tape. But the feed glitches at odd hours, showing brief, chilling flashes of a figure standing just out of frame. A tall man in a dark coat, his face obscured by a hood, his presence a silent menace. Amy's fear grows with each message subsequently, each sighting of a suspicious car. Her once safe routines now a minefield of potential danger. She starts taking different routes to work, avoiding her usual spots, changing her habits in a desperate bid to shake the feeling of being watched. But the sensation never fades, a constant prickling at the back of her neck. One evening, as Amy walks home from the bus stop, the rain soaking through her coat, she hears footsteps behind her, deliberate and heavy, matching her pace with an eerie precision. She quickens her steps, her heart pounding in her chest, and glances over her shoulder. But the street is empty, the shadows stretching unnaturally long under the flickering street lights, as if they're reaching for her. Her phone buzzes again, the screen lighting up with a new message. Look behind you. Amy's blood runs cold, and she breaks into a run, her sneakers splashing through puddles, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She doesn't stop until she reaches the apartment, her hands fumbling with the keys as she bolts the door behind her, her body trembling with adrenaline. Jake rushes to her, his face pale with worry, and she collapses into his arms, sobbing. They're everywhere. That night, they review the camera footage, hoping for answers. But the feed shows nothing, just static, and then a single frame of the man in the dark coat, standing directly in front of the lens, his hooded face so close that his breath fogs the camera. The footage cuts out, leaving them staring at a black screen, the silence in the apartment heavier than ever, broken only by the sound of rain against the windows and the faint, rhythmic tapping that seems to come from inside the walls. The situation escalates, the threats becoming more direct, more invasive, as if the unseen pursuers are tightening their grip. One night we heard someone trying to break into our apartment. Jake wakes to the sound of scratching at the front door, a metallic scraping like a key fumbling in the lock, but they've never given a spare to anyone. He grabs a baseball bat from under the bed, his heart pounding as he motions for Amy to stay back, her eyes wide with terror. He creeps toward the door, the scratching growing louder, more insistent, a sound that sends a chill down his spine. It was 2 a.m., and the sound of the lock being tampered with was unmistakable. Jake checks the security camera feed on his phone, his breath catching as he sees a man. Tall, broad-shouldered in a dark coat, his face hidden by a hood, working at the lock with a slender tool, his movements methodical and precise. The cars kept showing up, sometimes idling outside our apartment for hours. Jake shouts through the door, his voice shaking but firm. "Get out, or I'm calling the cops." The scratching stops abruptly, and the man vanishes into the night, his footsteps fading into the rain. But the camera captures something chilling. As he turns to leave, a glint of metal flashes in his hand. A knife, its blade catching the light. For a brief, terrifying moment, Amy's hands shake as she dials 911, her voice breaking as she reports the attempted break-in, her words tumbling over each other in a rush of fear. The police arrive within minutes, their flashlights cutting through the darkness, but the man is long gone, leaving behind only a deep scratch mark on the lock and a single cigarette butt on the ground, its tip still smoldering in the rain-soaked alley. The police officer, a gruff man named Ryan, takes their statement, his expression a mix of concern and skepticism. "This sounds like intimidation," he says, his voice low as he examines the scratch mark on the lock. "These corporate types don't play fair. You've stirred a hornet's nest." Ryan promises to increase patrols in the area, but his words offer little comfort. There's no evidence to tie the incident to the pharmaceutical company, no way to trace the man in the dark coat, and the cigarette butt yields no fingerprints. Amy and Jake spend the next few days fortifying their apartment, installing deadbolts on every door, setting up motion sensor lights around the building, and even boarding up the lower windows to prevent another attempt. But the cars keep appearing, different models, different plates, but always there, lurking at the edges of their vision, a constant reminder of the danger they're in. Amy stops, going to work, taking a leave of absence from the law firm, unable to face the daily commute with the knowledge that she's being watched. Jake stays home as much as he can, his eyes constantly scanning the street outside, his bat never far from reach. One night, as they sit in the darkened living room, the motion sensor lights outside flare to life, illuminating a figure standing in the alley, a man in a dark coat, the same one from the camera feed, his face still hidden, his posture unnervingly still. Amy's breath catches, her nails digging into Jake's arm as they watch him through the window, their hearts pounding in unison. "He's back," she whispers, her voice barely audible over the sound of the rain. Jake grips the bat, his mind racing. Should he confront him or wait for the police? But the man doesn't move, just stands there staring up at their window, his presence a silent threat that stretches on for an hour before he finally slips back into the shadows, disappearing as a distant police siren breaks the night. The terror becomes unbearable, a suffocating weight that permeates every moment of their lives. Amy's phone continues to receive messages, each one more menacing than the last. And one night she wakes to a flood of texts from an unknown number. "You can't run. We know where you are. She's next." The final message includes a photo that stops her heart. A picture of Amy sleeping in bed, taken from above, her face peaceful in the dark, unaware of the camera hovering over her. She screams, the sound raw and primal, waking Jake, who grabs the phone and stares at the image in horror. "They were here," Amy sobs, her body shaking as she clutches the blanket to her chest. "Inside our home." Jake's rage boils over, and he smashes the phone against the wall, the screen shattering into 1,000 pieces. But the image is burned into his mind, a violation so intimate, so terrifying, that it shatters any remaining sense of safety. He pulls Amy close, his arms trembling as he tries to comfort her, but his mind races with questions. How did they get in? When was the photo taken? And most importantly, what do they want? The realization hits him like a punch. They're not just trying to scare Amy. They're trying to break her, to silence her, and they're willing to go to any lengths to do it. Jake knows they can't stay here, can't keep living like this. But where can they go when the enemy is everywhere, watching, waiting? Jake decides they can't remain passive, that they need to take action before the situation escalates further. He reaches out to a private investigator named Carter, a grizzled man with a reputation for handling cases involving corporate espionage and intimidation. Carter meets them at a dimly lit diner on the outskirts of the city, his eyes constantly scanning the room as he listens to their story, his expression growing darker with every detail. "These companies don't mess around," he says, his voice low and gravelly, the weight of experience behind his words. "They hire fixers, people who make problems disappear, one way or another." Carter agrees to dig into the pharmaceutical company, but he warns them to lay low, to avoid drawing more attention. "You're dealing with professionals," he says, sliding a burner phone across the table. "Use this to contact me. Don't trust your own devices. They're likely compromised." That night, as Jake and Amy huddle in their apartment, the motion sensor lights outside flare to life again, casting harsh shadows across the alley. Jake checks the window, his heart sinking as he sees the man in the dark coat standing there. His face still hidden, his posture unnervingly still, as if he's waiting for something, or someone. Amy's breath catches, her nails digging into Jake's arm as they watch him, their fear a tangible thing in the darkened room. "He's not going away," she whispers, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and resignation. Jake grips the bat, torn between confronting the man and heeding Carter's warning, "Don't engage. They want you to react." The figure lingers for an hour, motionless, before slipping into the shadows as a police siren wails in the distance, leaving behind a chilling silence that feels more threatening than his presence. Carter calls too, days later, his voice tense and urgent. "I've got a name," he says, his words clipped. The company hired a fixer named Marcus Vale, ex-military, known for intimidation, maybe worse. Carter's investigation has uncovered Vale's past, witnesses disappearing, accidents that weren't accidents, a trail of fear and silence left in his wake. "He's been tailing you for weeks," Carter warns, "and he's not working alone. There's a network, others like him, hired to clean up messes for the company." Jake's blood runs cold as Carter describes Vale's methods: psychological torment, break-ins, even violence if the target doesn't back down. "You need to get out of town," Carter urges. "Somewhere they can't find you, at least until I can dig deeper." Jake and Amy pack a bag that night, their movements frantic as they stuff clothes, cash, and the burner phone into a duffel bag. Their plan to leave Seattle and head for a small town where they can disappear for a while. But as they head to the car, the black sedan appears again, blocking the alley, its engine idling with a low, menacing growl. The driver steps out, tall, broad-shouldered, his face scarred, a knife glinting in his hand, its blade catching the light of the street lamp. "You should have stayed quiet," he growls, his voice cold and devoid of emotion, his eyes locked on Amy with a predator's focus. Jake pushes Amy behind him, gripping the bat with both hands, his heart pounding as he prepares to fight. "They don't care about you," the man says to Jake, his lips curling into a cruel smile. "She's the one they want." Amy's scream cuts through the night as the man lunges, his knife slashing through the air with deadly precision. Jake swings the bat, catching the man in the arm with a sickening crack, the impact reverberating up his arms. The man staggers, but he doesn't stop, his knife slashing at Jake's side, drawing a thin line of blood that seeps through his shirt. Amy grabs a brick from the ground, her hands trembling as she throws it at the man's head, the projectile connecting with a dull thud that sends him to his knees. Blood trickles from his temple, but his eyes remain locked on Amy, a feral glint in them as he tries to stand. Jake swings the bat again, this time aiming for the man's legs, and the crack of bone echoes through the alley as the man collapses, unconscious, his knife clattering to the ground. Amy and Jake don't wait to see if he'll get up. They run, their footsteps pounding against the pavement as they flee to the car, the sound of approaching sirens, a faint hope in the distance. They drive through the night, the city lights fading behind them, their hearts still racing as they cross state lines, heading for a motel in a small town where they hope to find safety, at least for a little while. They don't stop driving until they reach a rundown motel 2 states away, the neon sign flickering in the darkness. It's buzzing, a stark contrast to the silence of the empty parking lot. We're safe for now, but I can't shake the feeling that this isn't over. Jake bandages his side, the cut shallow but stinging, the blood staining the motel's threadbare towel. Amy stares out the window, her eyes scanning the empty parking lot, her body tense as if expecting the sedan to appear at any moment. I keep thinking about who might be behind this. Someone powerful, someone who doesn't forgive. Carter calls the next morning, his voice grim as he delivers more bad news. Vale's off the grid, but the company's got deeper pockets than I thought. They've got others, fixers, operatives, a whole network. Jake's stomach churns, as Carter explains that Vale was just the tip of the iceberg, a pawn in a larger game, and that the company won't stop until Amy is silenced, or worse. That night, Amy wakes to the sound of her phone, her old phone, the one Jake smashed, buzzing. On the nightstand, its screen cracked but glowing with an eerie light. A new message reads, "You can't run forever." The motel's lights flicker, plunging the room into darkness, and a shadow passes the window, tall and impossibly still, its silhouette framed by the neon glow. Amy's scream wakes Jake, but when he looks, the parking lot is empty, except for a cigarette butt on the ground, identical to the one left at their apartment, its tip still smoldering in the cool night air. They're on the move again, their bags packed in a matter of minutes, but the question lingers in the air like a specter. Who else is hunting them? And how far will they go to finish what Vale started? Stay tuned. This isn't the end, and the shadows are closing in. The sun dips low over the rolling hills of rural Tennessee, painting the sky in hues of orange and violet. I'm Claire, 28, standing on the porch of a weathered farmhouse. I'm house-sitting for my cousin Ellen while she's on vacation. I'm here to keep an eye on the place, water the plants, and feed the neighbor's dog, a scruffy mutt named Rusty. The house is old, its wood creaking with every gust of wind, but it's peaceful, nestled in a quiet valley far from the nearest town. Or so I thought. Tonight something feels off, like the air's holding its breath, waiting for me to notice. I grab Rusty's food bowl and head next door, the gravel crunching under my boots. The neighbor's place is a small, tidy cabin, its windows dark. Rusty's usually bounding out by now, tail wagging, but he's nowhere in sight. I call his name, my voice swallowed by the stillness. As I fill his bowl, a chill runs down my spine, a feeling of being watched, like something's lurking just out of sight. I shake it off, probably just the isolation playing tricks, but the hairs on my arms stand up, refusing to settle. Back at the farmhouse, I lock the door. The bolts click louder than it should be. The house is too quiet, the kind of silence that presses against your ears. I flip on the kitchen light, but it flickers, casting shadows that seem to shift when I'm not looking. I can't shake the feeling that something's here. Something invisible, maybe malicious. Rusty finally appears, scratching at the neighbor's back door, but he's not his usual self. His ears are flat, his growl low, his eyes fixed on the darkness beyond the yard. I try to distract myself, brewing coffee, checking my phone, but the unease grows. The wind picks up, rattling the windows, and I swear I hear a sound, a faint hum, not quite human, coming from the attic. My heart skips. Ellen never mentioned anything weird about this place, but rural houses have histories, don't they? I grab a flashlight, my pulse quickening. The attic stairs are in the hallway, their wood warped and creaky. I hesitate, Rusty's growl echoing in my ears. Something's wrong, and it's close. Too close. The hum grows louder, and I know I can't ignore it. Whatever's up there, it's calling me. But am I brave enough to answer? The attic stairs loom before me, their shadows stretching long and jagged in the flashlight's beam. The hum is unmistakable now. A low, pulsing drone that vibrates in my chest like a heartbeat from the house itself. I'm terrified, convinced something's up there, something that doesn't want me here. Rusty's growl deepens, his hackles raised, his eyes locked on the ceiling. I grip the flashlight tighter, my other hand on the banister, its wood cold and splintered. It's just the wind, I whisper, but the lie tastes bitter. This isn't wind, it's alive. I climb, each step creaking louder than the last, the hum growing more insistent, weaving through the air like a warning. The attic door is ajar, a sliver of darkness peeking through. The feeling of being watched is overwhelming, like invisible eyes are boring into me. My heart's pounding, but I push the door open. The hinge is screaming. The attic's a maze of dust-covered boxes, old furniture and cobwebs. The air thick with the smell of mildew and something sharper like burnt herbs. The hum stops abruptly, leaving a silence that's worse. My flashlight sweeps the room, catching glints of glass. A cracked mirror, its surface warped, reflecting nothing but shadows. Then I see it. A small, leather-bound book, tucked between crates, its cover etched with symbols I don't recognize. I kneel, my hands trembling as I open it. The pages are brittle, filled with handwritten notes, sketches of spirals and words in a language I can't read. One page stands out, a drawing of a figure cloaked, eyeless, with the word Watcher scrawled beneath. Rusty barks, sharp and frantic, snapping me back. The mirror ripples like water disturbed, and I swear I see it. A shape, tall and wrong, its edges blurring into the dark. The presence is here, invisible but heavy, its malice pressing against me. I stumble back, the book slipping from my hands, and the hum returns, louder, angrier, chanting my name. The flashlight flickers, and the shape in the mirror moves, stepping closer, its form sharpening. Cloaked, eyeless, just like the drawing. I bolt for the stairs, Rusty at my heels, the door slamming shut behind us. The hum follows, echoing through the house, the walls groaning like they're alive. I lock myself in the kitchen, my breath ragged, the book's image burned into my mind. What is the Watcher? And why does it know my name? The night's only begun, and I'm not alone in this house. Something's awake, and it's hunting me. The kitchen's a fortress, its locked door my only shield, but the invisible presence is stronger now, its malice seeping through the walls. Rusty's pressed. Against my legs, his growls a low rumble, his eyes fixed on the hallway. The hum's everywhere, a relentless chant that twists my thoughts, whispering Claire. Claire in a voice that's not human. I'm shaking, convinced something's in the house, something that wants to hurt me. The flashlight's dim, its beam flickering, and the windows rattle, though the wind's died down. This house isn't just old, it's alive and it's angry. I clutch the leather book, its weight heavy in my hands. I flip through it again, my eyes scanning the cryptic notes. One passage catches me. The Watcher binds the land, feeds on fear, never seen but always near. My stomach drops. Is that what's here? A spirit? A demon? The sketches show the farmhouse, its attic circled in red with warnings. Do not disturb. Ellen never mentioned this, but she's only owned the place a year. What did the previous owners know? The lights flicker, plunging the kitchen into darkness, then back on. Rusty barks lunging at the hallway where the shadows seem to pulse, thicker than they should be. I hear it, a soft scrape, like nails on wood, coming from the living room. My heart's in my throat, but I creep forward, flashlight raised. Rusty at my side. The living room's cold, the air heavy with that burnt herb smell. The furniture's untouched, but the fireplace, unused for years, is glowing faintly, embers pulsing like a heartbeat. I step closer, and the embers flare, revealing a symbol burned into the hearth, the same spiral from the book. The hum spikes. A scream now, and the shadows move, coalescing into a shape. Tall, cloaked, eyeless, its presence crushing. It's here, watching me, its intent clear. It wants me gone, or worse. Rusty snarls, snapping at the air, and the shape retreats, dissolving, into the dark. The embers die, but the hum lingers, promising it'll return. I run back to the kitchen, barricading the door with a chair. The book mentions a ritual, something about breaking the bind, but it's incomplete, the pages torn. Rusty's growling again, his eyes on the ceiling where the hum's loudest. The attic's calling, but I can't go back, not yet. The Watcher's awake, and it's not just in the house. It's in me, feeding on my fear. I need answers, but the night's closing in and I'm running out of time. The barricaded kitchen feels like a cage, the invisible presence pressing closer, its malice a weight I can't escape. Rusty's growls are constant now, his teeth bared at the ceiling, where the hum pulses like a living thing. The leather book's open on the counter, its pages taunting me with half answers. I'm desperate, terrified, feeling the things, eyes on me even though it's unseen. The ritual's my only hope, but the instructions are vague. Something about salt, blood, and facing the Watcher. I don't have time to figure it out. The house is waking and it wants me. I grab salt from the pantry, pouring a shaky circle around myself and Rusty. The hum laughs, a low mocking sound that shakes the walls. The lights flicker again, and the chair against the door rattles like something's pushing from the other side. I clutch the flashlight, its beam weak, and scan the book. A note in the margin. The Watcher was bound here, 1893. Betrayed. Hungry. Betrayed by who? The farmhouse's owners, a cult. My mind races, but Rusty's bark snaps me back. A sharp, panicked sound. The living room's fireplace glows again, brighter, the spiral symbol burning red. I hear footsteps now, heavy and deliberate, circling the house. They're not human. Too uneven, too wrong. The windows shudder and I see it. A shadow outside, tall and cloaked, its eyeless face pressed against the glass. It's here, its presence suffocating, its intent clear. It wants me. Rusty lunges, but I pull him back, the salt circle our only shield. The shadow vanishes, but the footsteps continue. Faster, circling tighter. I try the ritual, smearing salt on my palms, chanting. Words from the book, release the bound, break the chain. The hum roars, the house shaking, dishes crashing from shelves. The fireplace erupts, flames licking the ceiling, and the shadow reappears, inside now in the hallway, its eyeless gaze locking on me. I scream, dropping the book, and Rusty charges, but the shadow swipes, sending him yelping back. The salt circle breaks and the hum becomes a voice. mine. I grab a knife, my hands shaking, and run for the attic stairs. The ritual's up there, I know it. The shadow follows, its footsteps pounding, the house groaning like it's collapsing. I reach the attic door, the hum deafening, and push it, open. The mirror's glowing, the watcher's face clear now, eyeless, smiling, promising death. The ritual's my last chance, but the shadow's here and I'm out of time. Can I face it, or will the watcher claim me? The attic door slams shut behind me, the watcher's presence overwhelming. Its malice a force that chokes the air. The mirror glows, its surface rippling, the eyeless face of the watcher smiling, its voice booming through the hum. You're mine. Rusty's at my side, his growls weak, but defiant, blood matting his fur from the shadow's swipe. I'm alone, terrified, feeling the thing's hunger, its need to consume me. The leather book's on the floor, its pages open to the ritual, the final words clear. Offer blood, face the truth, break the bind. I grab the knife, my hands trembling, and slice my palm, blood dripping onto the attic floor. The hum screams, the mirror shaking, the watcher's face twisting in rage. I chant, my voice cracking. Release the bound, break the chain, return. To dust. The house quakes, beams cracking, dust raining down. The shadow emerges from the mirror, tall and cloaked, its eyeless gaze a void that pulls at my soul. Rusty barks lunging and I throw salt, the grains sparking as they hit the shadow. The watcher recoils, but it's not enough. The ritual demands truth. I have to face it. I step forward, staring into its void, my fear raw but steady. Who betrayed you? I demand. The hum softens, the shadow pausing, and I see it. A flash of memory, not mine. A woman, 1893, bound. In this attic, betrayed by her family, her fear feeding the watcher's birth. She was like me, alone, scared, but she fought. And lost I won't. I smear my blood on the mirror, chanting louder, the words burning my throat. The shadow screams, the mirror cracking, the hum collapsing into silence. The watcher lunges, its fingers grazing my neck, but the ritual holds. Light bursts from the mirror, swallowing the shadow. The house stilling. I collapse, Rusty licking my face, the attic dark and quiet. The book's pages are blank now, the mirror shattered, the watcher gone. Or is it I stumble downstairs, Rusty limping beside me? The farmhouse feels different, lighter, but I'm still shaken, haunted by the feeling that something lingered, something I can't see. The scars on my palm itch, a reminder of the watcher's touch. I leave at dawn, vowing never to return. But at night I hear it, a faint hum calling my name. Did I break the curse or did I carry it with me? If you've ever felt eyes in the dark, share your story below. The watcher's out there, and it's always watching. You've just heard a collection of terrifying stories, and yet somehow the silence now feels louder. Maybe one of these tales reminded you of something. A night you tried to forget. A sound you brushed off. A feeling that something was wrong. That's the power of fear. It hides in plain sight. It grows when the room goes quiet. And it never truly leaves. But the stories don't stop here. There are more accounts, more whispers, more shadows waiting to be uncovered. And if you're brave enough, or foolish enough, we invite you to return, because the next video will go deeper, more real stories, more things that don't have names, so subscribe. Stay curious and remember, some doors once opened, never close again.